All right. So we are, and if I cut out, just say, hey, Paul, I can't hear you or whatever. My internet is kind of flaky. All right, so packing for the journey. Lorraine just kind of went through this. Here we go. Here's our agenda. Okay, frustrations, dreaming, what if, and then mindset, framework, and tools, and then some Q&A. All right, so the first thing, here's a frustrated guy right here. So we're going to do a little exercise. So thinking about, where you are in the whole digital, program, project, life cycle, ecosystem, I guess, business transformation or product development or any of those where we're investing in technology solutions to fix business problems, capture opportunities. It can't all be, roses and canaries, right? So there are some problems and frustrations. So think about what you're seeing today, some of the things that you're frustrated with or you see people frustrated with, and then pick one of those and give me one word that kind of embodies that frustration that you're seeing, and I'll write it down. Go ahead. Anybody?
Supply chain.
Supply. I'm going to write it as one word.
I went back and forth as to whether that was one or two. But
it's one word. Yeah, totally. What else?
How about delay?
Delay, yes.
Capacity.
Capacity.
Or
nice.
lack thereof, I would say.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Couple more.
Kind of tied in with the others, but on de-scoping.
De-scoping, yes.
Can't quite think of a word for it, but the idea that we're not getting out of it what we thought we would get out of it.
Ooh, like missed. Yeah,
opportunity or disappointment or
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know how you would describe that in one word.
Yes.
That's a tough job.
I'm going to go 2 words. I'm going to hyphenate it, so it's one word. Disappointing results.
Yep.
All right, good. That's a good list. So let's see. So let's go here. So I'm going to tell a quick story, then we'll talk about frustrations and try to tie it back to that. So this is me a few years ago. Okay, I was brand new on a gig. I was a kind of a liaison between IT and business, and I got this task to do. The task was to take this project charter and just fill in this box, right? The schedule was set, the budget was set, the scope was set. Guess what the box was? It was called business benefits, right? And I said, okay, never again. That was like the tipping point, right? I was like, I gotta fix this because I've seen this before, and this is just going to be a mess if we keep going. So that's what started me on this kind of journey to, as you'll see, to solve this and the other problems we just talked about. So I've got 3 buckets: waste, churn, and friction. And I guess disappointing results and delays, that could go into the waste bucket, right? You're wasting funds on, either because you're missing you're incurring opportunity costs by being late, or the investment didn't turn out the way you wanted to. So, theoretically that was waste. Churn is either, talent churn, right? Top talent and people who can go somewhere else and they're not having a good experience, they're gonna split, right? Or customer churn, and then friction, right? Delays. Friction is always bad. Rework, all that stuff. So waste, churn, and friction. So far, so good. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, let's look at waste first. So waste, what does waste look like? So yeah, so many of our projects are declared a success once the thing is delivered and the benefits aren't formally measured, right? So why even invest in the first place, right? Churn, as we mentioned, so we're not always treating our employees well enough to retain them, right? Especially in this market. And looks like my internet is up and down. And then friction. Preparing business cases for new project ideas takes way too long, and so we often just skip this step. Does that sound familiar? Okay, so let's dream now. So what if? So stewardship, excitement, and speed. What does stewardship mean? So stewardship is kind of like, hey, we found a universal method for making good investments decisions and capturing opportunities and navigating threats. Or, hey, we now have a repeatable way to set up and meet healthy expectations, right? To your point, Wayne, around development milestones, including launching agile products. And then, we can quickly prepare complete business cases for side-by-side comparison, prioritization, stuff like that. So far, so good. Okay. Excitement. Okay, what does that mean? So we have a way to rally the team around a shared, focused, tangible business outcome, right? We know how to make these projects exciting adventures through gamification. And then, hey, we consistently create excitement among the contributors, even in the heat of the battle, right? Wouldn't that be great? So here's a quote. Companies that implemented financial incentives tied directly to transformation outcomes achieved almost a 5-fold increase in the total shareholder returns. And that's from McKinsey in January. The powerful role financial incentives can play in a transformation. They go on. At one company, the executive in charge of the transformation said, hey, we paid out incentives every quarter. Speed of delivery, urgency was critical for us. With every day that initiatives could be delivered sooner, directly resulting in better overall results for the business, right? Originally, we were going to pay these out at the end of each year. Happy we didn't. If I could do it again, I would have made payments every month. So imagine being on a transformation or initiative and getting extra pay, right? Just like the sales guys do. Wouldn't that be something? Okay, yeah. And then they had 7 kind of principles. So you tie the incentives directly to the outcomes that are in control of participants. You encourage outperformance rather than just good performance. You use the incentives program to encourage broader participation. You include metrics beyond financial. You ensure payments are made soon after you get to the various milestones. Obviously, tailor it to strategy and culture, and then keep it simple yet precise. All right. Is this kind of weird? Have you guys ever seen this before? This new? What? Yeah.
Yeah, I have a question for you, Paul. Whenever I've talked about incentives being tied, like a financial incentive being tied to some creative output, it's always usually in a negative context. You don't want to do that because you'll focus people too much on the incentive and not enough on the creative side. Mm-hmm. I don't know if this is, like, whenever I hear it, there's a bit of a red flag that goes off in my head, but I don't know if this is actually like the carrot here helping the transformation along, or would it inhibit the transformation? The first number seemed to think it would encourage it by 5-fold, which is pretty impressive.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm just curious now, what's the difference and how does that work?
So it's basically making your business or your transformation into a game, or your whole business. There's a great book called The Great Game of Business by Jack Stack. Okay. The whole book is about how he took his company and made it into a complete game his goal for everybody in the company, from the executive team to the line workers, to above and beyond their salary, allow them to buy a house and a car with the extra money they get from this gamification of the business. And that involved, setting goals, paying out incentives or rewards, or, above and beyond that. And doing that, having a weekly cadence, a monthly cadence, a quarterly cadence on the gamification. So it's not just, hey, get this deliverable done by a certain time and we'll give you a $50 gift card, right? And we'll get into this about investments, but it's here's the investment we're making. Here's how we're going to measure okay performance. Here's how we're gonna measure. This will be great performance, and this will be out of this world performance. And those are real financial benefits to the company. So and you got to trust us that those are good to have, like extra revenue, extra margin, reduced risk, all that stuff. So we're committing to paying out as soon as those benefits are logged in the general ledger. So it's like real. Okay, it takes accounting. But good question. We'll look at later how to enable that a little bit. So then speed is the other solution, I guess, to the problem bucket. So what's this like? So we do quick business case preparation, value forecast, consensus, and yield tracking. Put it all on autopilot. And I might have frozen. Okay, now I'm back. So, or we're enjoying a simpler, less time-consuming communication cadence. Or, hey, our framework is simple enough for leadership to communicate out. I got a story about that later. And also deep enough to augment our PMO idea to value process. Okay. Anything on that? Any thoughts? All right. All right, so mindset, framework, and tools. Let's look at mindset first. So specifically around an investment paradigm, right? We're going to talk about vocabulary, horizon, and value. So vocabulary first. So what if we thought, investment, not spend, idea, not project, portfolio, not program, yield, not deliverables. And then we fund experiments and not projects, and we fund scale and not deployment. So those are some little shifts, and then we'll see where that, plays in later. What do you guys think about that? Is that weird? No? Okay.
I haven't seen that before.
Yeah, I'm just looking at that, and I think it makes sense. Just the tweaks in vocabulary can make a difference to how people perceive it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's look at horizon, because that kind of ties in. So I'm going to turn off my video to save my bandwidth real quick. Okay. All right, horizon. So, how far do we look out, right? So 2080, not 80-20. What does that mean? So think of that as the project to value, life cycle ratio. So we typically think 80-20, right? So the majority of the investment is the project. Once we deliver the thing, we're done. And then we just got to do that last 20% of adoption. And once everybody's using it, we're good. We move on, right? But really, if we think 2080, where the investment is mostly getting the value out of the thing, which means the project or the program is very small compared to the overall, more like product management than project management, right? So changing your horizon, they call it like H1 to H3, or Horizon 1 to Horizon 3. And then idea to yield, and not just idea to delivery, right? And yield is, hey, what's been the return on this investment over the last 3 years? And having, some of the original teams still accountable and rewarded for that yield. And then if we looked at an entire end-to-end life cycle, we start with vision, end with value, and value over the long term. So again, more like product management. What do you guys think about that? Okay.
Quiet bunch, eh?
All right, excellent. All right, let's do value. Okay, so value. Value-driven, not scope, schedule, or budget-driven, right? Because those are all vanity metrics that I mean, it shouldn't matter. These are investments that we're going to get value from, and that should be the goal, the target, the North Star. And then I propose the purpose of all business activities is, and business investment specifically, is to create sustainable new business value. Whether you're investing in the start of a business or you're investing in the improvement of one part of the business, it's the same thing. The scorecard is financial, because even if you're a nonprofit, right, you still have costs and you have benefits or if you're nonprofit, you've got donations, right? And so everything a business does that's not operations, and it is an investment in the business. And if you're not going to measure the investment with the same metrics you're using to measure cost, then it's a problem, I think, and I've seen. So, and we should strive to measure all value and stock benefits with financial metrics, just so we can keep score and track it on the general ledger. Is that weird?
I think it might be hard to do in some cases.
Yeah, you're right.
But
I've seen attempts at it in the past, and some successful, some not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so have I. And I mean, and you try this at your company, and you might get fired, right? So it's you got to really be careful with the culture, but where it works great. Okay, let's talk about framework. So a framework, I think, should be simple, universal, and flexible. What do I mean by that? So simple. So where do we want to go? How will we get there? This is an example of 4 questions that if you can answer them with the framework consistently across any investment, any project, any program, any portfolio, if these are the 4 questions that you can answer at the highest level, this is as simple as we can get it, right? So where we want to go, how will we get there, what will it be like, and are we there yet? Let me show you next thing. So a universal framework. Let's look at those 4 questions, but let's look at a visual. So here's a visual that I've probably worked with almost 300 people over the last 5 years on, and we came up with a circle, right? It used to be a square, now it's a circle. And it starts with vision, which answers the question, where do we want to go? And then there's strategy, how will we get there? And then there's design, what should it be like, or what will it be like, right? And then value, hey, are we there yet? And it was, difficult to get this to a circle with 4 steps that could be adapted to any investment, whether it's waterfall or agile or anything in between. But this has seemed to work for any kind of investment, actually technology or not. You could use this for a startup, right? So universal. All right, and then flexible. These are deliverables from each phase. So from vision, if you start with an idea up here, you get to a business case. And in my world, it's everything on the backlog should have a business case, which means that you got to have an easy way to make business cases, right? So business case out of vision, funding out of strategy, version 1 out of design, and then realized value out of value. Whatever happens in between, it's up to you, up to your PMO process, whatever process you use. But if you can come up with something like this that is super simple at the high end, and there's a stage gate or a requirement to go from one phase to another, that means you can fit everything into this verbiage, and then for stakeholders and especially for leadership comes in handy. We'll see that in a minute. So and here's Craig. Speak of the devil. So backstory. So at one engagement, I implemented something like this, and they didn't even know about Agile, right? But I said, we're going to start these projects and these things, these investments, and we're going to have a bi-weekly update email I'm going to send. I'm going to include a deck, right? And we'll see how it goes. And here's an example of one of the investments. This is a clock, vision, strategy, design, value. Little summary of, what was the vision? Well, faster wins from first meeting, customized network analysis. What was the strategy? Build on a existing tool and then leverage a proven vendor. Then design. We captured pilot findings. Version 1 went live, blah, blah, blah. And then the current status is we are 89% into the value phase. So that's cool, right? So one of the slides from this looked kind of like this, where we had 3 investments going. One was at 90, whatever. Craig called me 2 hours after I sent the first email. He's like, Paul, this is good. And he's like the president of a business unit, right? And he's like, hey, can I share this with, in a couple hours, I got a report up. You mind if I share some of these slides? I was like, yeah, go for it, man. So it's like insane because it was simple enough for him to feel comfortable sharing it up, right? And it wasn't like a Gantt chart with all kinds of crap on it and everything. So I was like, oh, we're onto something here. So that was it. So tools, let's look at tools real quick. Actually, anything yet? Any thoughts, any questions? Okay. Tools, let's look at tools. So the framework deck, the progress clock, and value model, and you guys can email me and get these, do what you want with them. So framework deck. The idea is a framework, obviously, for scaling innovation, promoting an investment mindset, and for communicating progress and plans to leadership and stakeholders. And then here's one slide of many from that. And here we see the 4 phases: vision, strategy, design, and value. You see the 16 steps, 4 for each phase. And then the question that each step answers, like, envision. What measurable improvement are we aspiring to create and on what scale? So this is just an example slide from that deck, which you can email me, I'll get to you. All right, progress clock. This is a cool one. And we saw examples previously. So a consistent visual that helps leadership and other stakeholders to visualize progress and plans. And again, here are the inputs, and we're using the phases and steps, but you can put your own phases and steps in here. And then just by putting a percentage and some comments, you get something like this. And we see we're at 41%. Great. And then you update it and make a little more progress in 59%. So it's kind of a cool little donut thingy that you can include in your decks and things. It's worked out for what I've been doing. Okay, and then the value model. This is basically an Excel tool. This is what I love to do. You take 4 assumptions for any investment and you turn it into a robust business case. You can go as deep as you want to, but the 4 assumptions are durations, hours, invoices, and value events. And this took a long time to get to these 4. So durations gives you, how long each, and think of a project plan, right? How long each step is going to take, or each whatever. Hours, what are you going to spend internally on hours, and whether you incorporate that into the cost or not. Invoices, what are you going to spend on external vendors, on consultants, on incentives, right? And then value events. How are you going to track yield on a daily, weekly, monthly basis? So if you can answer these 4 assumptions and put them into a schedule that looks kind of like this, then you can quickly build a business case for any investment idea. And here's the key. So you can see we got conservative, balanced, and ambitious. So for robust business cases, need a range for all your assumptions because you just don't know, right? So conservative hours are higher. It's going to conservatively can take us 40 hours. Ambitiously, we're going to get it done in 20. Stuff like that. And then value events, right? So the value event, which could be maybe a verbal commitment on in your sales pipeline, conservative value that is 25K, ambitious is 42. So that feeds into an example here. So meet Zach. He's a seller, but he's also a visionary. He saw this problem and he's calling it MAA. That's the idea. So market analysis app. So what is MAA, you guys ask? Well, with MAA, our sellers will be able to get more verbal commitments by delivering data-driven analysis and scenario forecasts in real time while sitting there with their clients. Okay, great. So here's how some of those assumptions would look. So design, would be 40 hours for experiment conservatively and blah, 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 right? And then 40 days. I'm sorry. That's duration. This is hours. This is invoices, and then this is value events. So where the verbal commitment is worth a certain amount, and then as we go into the various months, we get more and more verbal commitments and give credit to the investment. Great. So what does that look like? So that let's us put this together, and this is kind of cool. This is the snapshot of the investment idea that allows leadership and sponsors and people who are going to write the check to say, oh, I get it, man. Look at that. So this is the balanced confidence. It shows a 3.7x ROI on 71K invested. And then you can switch. If I just clicked, conservative, it would show me the conservative view, which is still a 56% ROI. And then if I clicked ambitious, it would show that, we're looking at a 9x in about 12 months. So, and it's really quick. So this tool, again, developed, iterated over the last several years and with a lot of people involved, but it's really handy, really, and very, you can whip things out, slicker than anything. Because I can't stand going through business cases, and I'm sure neither can you. Any questions so far? Any comments? Any thoughts?
I like the idea of an interval estimate. To me, that just seems something that's obvious, but there seems to be, this drive to get, it's going to take, 4 days or whatever to do that, rather than a range, because there's always uncertainty out there, right? So,
yeah. Absolutely.
I like that as well.
Yeah, I was just going to say this whole thing kind of reminds me a little bit of Roman Pichler's product canvas, but that was supposed to be a simplification of a business document, but this is even simpler still. I like how it's distilled down into the 4 things.
Any other questions? That's the end. That's it. What do you think? Okay, thank you.
No, I like it. It's a little bit to wrap my head around here because I think it could be really powerful if used right. I'm just wondering, how would I use it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, you would start using it by anybody who's got a backlog, within the team or that in the organization. There's an intake process for IT, right?
Yep.
So, so then you would start. Okay, what's the idea? Well, the idea would be an analytics tool that would help us prepare the sales team to meet with a potential client, right? Something like that. Great. Let's give it a name. Let's put it on the backlog, and let's begin to make a business case for it using the value model tool. And quickly, get to some of our assumptions around duration, hours, and all that stuff, and then see how that plays, and iterate that over time, and then get across the finish line of that vision phase. So you've got a very, very concise statement. What's the business focus of the idea? What's the business case for it? What's conservative? What's ambitious? And then let's see if we can start looking at options, technology, tech stack, vendors, look around the organization to see if it's been done before, stuff like that. So that's how you'd start, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it makes a lot of sense. And like I said, I've used like a product canvas type idea to capture some of this stuff quickly on one page A3 type stuff before.
Yeah.
But this is even quicker and even faster. So yeah, you got the wheels turning. That sounds great.
Go.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah. Anybody else have thoughts, question?
I think the big thing in a lot of cases is just overcoming some of the organizational inertia, and if you're in an older organization, there's going to be a lot of that's been built up over the years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's the big challenge, I think.
Right. And you got to, and it could be dangerous, could be, you got to, in that situation, I've been there, you just got to start small and get permission to start small, right?
Yeah.
So acknowledge that this is a problem or holding us back, and can we just try something? Okay, you guys can go ahead and try. Okay, good. Otherwise, yeah, you rock the boat and you're out. Yeah. Anybody else have any thoughts? All right. So this is me. And just email me if you want. I'll show the tools and we can meet up and talk about it.
Paul, I threw out an invite on LinkedIn. I'll connect
Okay.
with you there. And I'm sorry I'm going to have to run. Dinner's on the table, but thank you very much. It was really interesting presentation, and there's quite a few ideas. I think I'm going to have to see if I can incorporate them somehow here.
Cool. Thank you. That's all I can ask for. Nice to meet you, Wayne. Thanks.
Yeah, nice to meet you too. Thanks.
Wayne.
Bye.
And thank you, Paul. I quite enjoyed that.
All right. Really?
Not sure I can necessarily talk the appropriate bodies into using it, but fun to think about a world where it's actually something we do.
Right. We can dream.
Exactly. Thanks a lot.
Yeah. Okay. Nice to meet you. Thank you, Neil.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Well, we'll unless there's another question here, I think we'll wrap up. So thanks, Paul, very much. Very appreciated. It is a lot to wrap your head about and need to think about it. And we will send out the recording afterwards. So that'll help to kind of review it again and digest it more.
Absolutely. Thank you, Lorraine. Thanks, Ross. Thanks, Michelle. Nice to meet you.